Okay, Tata. So the camera's on.
What are you doing, mother?
Nothing. Talk to him.
That's my reserve.
I've only taken one. You told me to take it. I'm not taking it from near your bed. I'm taking it from here.
No, take it from there.
No, why?
Because you like it.
It's the same thing I had here.
It's not the same
It's the
thing.
exact same thing.
One is hotter, one is
No,
not.
it's the same.
Anyway, Tata.
Now talk.
Well, what you're saying earlier, this is basically just going to be an extra segment, probably after a main recording or anything. We're going to have this on for the family or whatever. So no too important questions or anything like that. It's basically, I wanted to ask you just a couple of general things as they pop into my mind and try to have a natural conversation just to record with you a bit. So you were just discussing with me off camera how Indira Gandhi, I asked you if you met Indira Gandhi, you said yes. And you said she wanted you for a position, for the trade,
Several times.
for what position was it? The Trade Council, National
For
Trade
the
Council?
chairman of the State Trading Corporation.
Because trade in India was national, right?
Chairman of the State Trading Corporation.
Corporation, okay.
That was a constitutionally established organization in India which had a constitutional role to play.
Mm.
It was the head of the State Trading, National Trading Corporation of India. Established the trading policies, activated, implemented all state trading policies of the country.
And you got that, you were offered this position because, how did she know you?
3 times.
3 times you were offered. Was this during the 1970s?
This was in the 1970s.
Okay. And she offered you the position. How did she know of you?
Oh, she knew me. She knew me because I was the managing director of Tata Exports.
Mm.
And Tata Exports was, every year it used to receive the national award.
The national one.
National award
Exports.
as being the most outstanding export organization in the country. And she used to give me, there was an award for the outstanding. So every year she used to give me the award.
The photos are in the study.
I think 2 or 3 awards are in the study.
Yeah.
And so she was a very kind person. I remember once, she said, "Oh, not you again." I said, "Yes, I am here again." And I wouldn't miss this opportunity to see you. She was a nice lady.
You met with other, famous heads of states and so on. You always tell me, what was the one that had the most impact on you? Do you think that was the most interesting?
Well, I had interaction with the many heads of states, and but there was no policy interaction with them.
Mm.
And policy interaction you have with your own head of the state or with your own ministers, government officials. But the biggest policy interaction I had to have was my own people, making them understand that the world has changed. We have got to change policies. We have got to get into more in line with how the world is moving now, instead of how the world was moving 20 years ago.
Well, what changes do you advocate for? At the time, what changes were you advocating for?
I was advocating for more modernization. We were leftist. Indian policies were leftist. And some of those leftist policies were not good, were not fair, were not rational, were not very logical. And they favored the undeserving. And so it was, it didn't allow for the, outright it didn't allow for the outright discussion of what is good for India,
Key issues.
what is good for the country. There were a lot of people involved, their personal vested interests to come into play.
Corruption.
No, I don't know about corruption. I never saw corruption. But could be vested interests. Vested interests. Corruption is only a term.
Mhm.
But
I mean, so when you say that, leftist policies and how irrational and national interest, you mean the sort of, India was very protectionist at the time. Do you mean like
very
protectionism?
protection. India was very protectionist, but they had to be. For instance, we had our policies in the international policies depended on the leftist world, on Russia,
Soviet Union, yeah.
Soviet Union and other countries. And they must have been demanding terms. And so we had to buckle. I can understand that. That's understandable. But, you had to, in the international policies, and those countries were also interested in trade. They were also interested in getting best terms out of India. And they did. So whoever was a smart one got the best out of them.
Okay. So, so you were basically outlining that.
For instance, can you imagine Mercedes-Benz is a product we Tatas at that time used to manufacture. And I sold personally 500 Mercedes-Benz trucks to East Germany. Germans were divided between East and West. Now, and they hated each other. The East Germans and the West Germans hated each other. But I persuaded the East Germans, who had a big trade agreement with us, and they wanted to sell us a lot of stuff. So I said, yes, you are welcome to sell us because we can take your stuff. But you have to buy something from us. So finally, after a great deal of effort, we made them agree. I made them agree. All right, if you cannot agree on other things, buy your Mercedes-Benz. We make the Mercedes-Benz. Buy Mercedes-Benz from us. And they agreed to take 500 trucks from us, 500. And they took some, I think 50 trucks or something for trials and so on. They were the same. Specifications were exactly the same. And they approved. And what is more important is the Germans, the West Germans, we didn't expect. I expected a lot of opposition from West Germans. I didn't expect them to agree to our selling the trucks to
The East Germans.
East Germans. To East Germans. So we convinced them. We tried to convince them anyway, and they agreed. We made them agree, very reluctantly.
I don't know if you've heard on the news today, Tata, the largest trade agreement ever was signed between many East Asian nations and China.
Between?
Many East Asian nations
Yeah, we heard.
and China. But India, as a notable exception, didn't join.
And America too.
America was left out, but India didn't join, largely because they're worried about tariffs, the reducing tariffs hurting domestic, producers. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think India should be part of a trade bloc like that or no?
No, we should be part of the trade bloc, but we have nothing to sell. We have got to sell them something that we can justify as our own. We don't have many goods which are free of attachments. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be part of particularly now as we get more and more ready to handle the international trade. And I think to shut ourselves away from international trade is not a good thing. But we have to get ready. If we are not ready, they will sweep us through, particularly the Chinese.
Mm.
So I think it's a good idea to take our time and take a couple of hours, get ready, and join the trade bloc, particularly because it falls in our area. I don't know who all have joined the trade bloc
Australia,
because
China, and something else.
because it's dominated by
The
the
Chinese.
Chinese.
It's dominated by the Chinese, yes.
What about Vietnam?
Vietnam joined, yes.
Huh?
Vietnam joined, yes.
Vietnam joined.
Yeah. Even though it's Vietnam and China have a confusing relationship, right? Rather contradictory. But, I mean, you did some work in Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia,
A lot of work.
Southeast Asia, yeah?
A lot of work.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work in that area.
Did you like the area?
Well, Vietnam was in the middle of the war at that time with the Americans. And I was very impressed with the Vietnamese people. Very honorable, very honest, very hardworking. And Cambodia, so-so. At that time, it was very, very poor country. But Vietnam was a different cup of tea. So the moment they recovered from the American shock and got a chance to recover, they were bound to do very well. They haven't fully recovered yet, I think.
I mean, so did you have contact with the North Vietnamese during the war?
No.
Only the South Vietnamese.
It's not it.
Because the Americans, I guess, blocked contact to the North Vietnamese.
Yes, Americans. And also, Americans had our trade to Vietnam was via North America, because North America had established trade agencies, and they had given trade aid to, so we were allowed to access those trade channels, which we did. We did very well there. But then the American suppliers became very upset, very angry, and the most vigorous of that was the General Motors. They sued us.
General Motors.
Because they said you cannot supply goods to
Vietnam.
Vietnam against our own American
Goods.
credit lines.
Yeah, because the Vietnamese owed money to the Americans, right? So they could only buy American goods.
Yeah.
But
But the trade line that had been established by them under some pledge they had made to the United Nations was under that thing.
But wasn't India a third world country? So you could be.
It was a third world country, but under some provision in that agreement, they could only supply, because it was a manufacture of trucks and sophisticated machinery and so on, was a sophisticated item. It wasn't a
Basic item.
basic item or low grade item. So it was very interesting at that time. We had to go through lots of loops.
So you've met, speaking of, the Soviet Union and North Vietnam.
The Soviet Union was another side.
That was another side, yes.
I dealt with Soviet Union extensively.
Did you meet any high-level Soviet Union people?
Yes, I met, the ambassador, Indian ambassador in Soviet Union was a Kashmiri counterpart.
Really?
Yes, he was an ICS officer. Tiki Cole was his name. Brilliant man. He was the ambassador. So he with his good officers, he had phenomenal contacts in Russia. He was a personal friend of Khrushchev and Bulgarin and all these people, and a very close friend of theirs. And he held Nehru and Indira Gandhi and all those in the pro-Russian camp.
Oh, really? He pushed them into the pro.
He was very, very powerful man.
Very powerful.
He was a very powerful man, and a very clever man. When I went, he asked me to come to Moscow, so I did go to Moscow. And I remember I flew from Paris in November, at the end of November, Paris to Moscow. So, first time I was going to Moscow, and I had no heavy clothes, very comparatively light clothes. When I had borrowed some overcoat from my colleagues and so on, so I landed, and we had sent a message to him that I am arriving, and he had sent an embassy man, an embassy car, and but he was wiser than me, of course, so he had sent an embassy car and embassy coat, heavy coat, and he had sent a heavy embassy coat, and they took me to, I think the hotel was Hotel Polsky, I think was the name. I don't remember, I think that was the hotel. And I went there, and they took me to the hotel, and with that coat, and it was so cold. Philip, I cannot explain to you. I mean, from the car garage, the car door, to the entry of the hotel, I froze.
Really?
Virtually you froze.
Wow.
It was so cold. And I had taken 2 or 3 bottles of cognac with me. They had told me to take them with me. I ran into the hotel. Hotel was warm, comfortable. And so next morning, they had lined up my appointments and so on. A very exciting time I had. Unbelievable that I could handle such situations at that age.
How old were you?
That's a good question. I must have been, Madhu, do you have any idea? Do you remember?
Yes.
How?
29 to 40 something. From 29.
That's quite a wide range.
Yeah.
No, but he started his this job like going abroad from 29, because I stopped flying and he started flying in 29.
Yes. No, I think I was roughly 33, 34, something like that. But very inexperienced.
Very young.
Very inexperienced. Very
young, Philip.
And but I had help. I had help from these embassies. For instance, Tiki Cole, he was so nice to me. And Tiki Cole he had a beautiful house in Moscow, and he used to grow. He had a little patch of garden, and he used to grow Kashmiri hawk.
Hawk,
Hawk we have in
hawk,
Kashmir. He had a patch of garden in the embassy, in the house.
He had a foreign wife, right? Or did he have a Kashmiri wife?
No, there was a controversy. He didn't have Kashmiri wife. Then I would have stayed with him. He had a girlfriend and all that. But he was a very nice man. You remember him? He used to come to London, come and stay with us. Not stay with us. And he used to have chilies. Do you remember the chilies he used to have? Madhu?
Yes, I remember.
Huh?
Yes.
What did he have? He had chilies, spoonful, on the food which you gave him, which was already loaded.
So this man was the Indian ambassador to the Soviet Union.
He was a very powerful man. He became Secretary of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, wow.
And a very, very powerful man. And so I went, he had called all the important people I was to meet in Moscow and for lunch.
Well, who were some of these important people? Give us some names and positions.
At that time, I think, second level, not ministerial level.
Yes.
Second level people. And but people who had to do work with me. But it was very difficult to get hold of them. The worst thing in Eastern Europe was in Moscow was to get appointments with these people.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't see you.
Of course.
They were so busy and so powerful. And but it was very clear to me that I couldn't do much. It had to be done at the highest level.
Highest level, yeah.
It was that kind of situation.
Of course. I mean, that's how I think.
But it was a
most
great
things work.
experience for me. Tiki Cole was very helpful.
You talked to me earlier, speaking of another communist government, Yugoslavia.
Huh?
You were in
Oh, yes,
Yugoslavia as well, yeah.
Yugoslavia, I had an office. I opened an office there.
You opened an office.
Oh, I loved Yugoslavia.
Did you meet Tito,
No,
the dictator?
I didn't meet him.
Oh, you didn't meet him.
I
He
didn't.
was a
meet-
great friend of India.
I didn't meet him. I didn't have to meet him. He was a great friend of mine. I didn't have to meet him. And he was not a very powerful man.
Tito,
Tito.
the dictator,
Huh?
the dictator.
Well, he wasn't a dictator.
Okay, sorry, the leader. I
By
don't
that
mean
he
to.
was a leader.
Sorry, pardon me for characterizing
Yeah.
him.
He was not a leader. He was a nice man. He wanted to get away from Russia,
Yeah, of course.
move away from Russia. And he was a great friend of Nehru. So my name, Standing Nehru, Nehru was a great help in Eastern Europe.
Having the name there.
Having
Yes.
the name Nehru was great, great, great name.
I mean, when you got this higher level position, did the other Nehrus because we're from the part of the Nehru family that's quite separate.
None of your Nehrus were visible at that time,
Really? Okay.
except there was a foreign secretary, higher level. But Tiki Cole was, although he was not a foreign secretary, but he was much superior to him.
Much superior. Okay. Tiki Cole. That's his name?
Tiki Cole.
Tiki Cole. Okay, I'll keep in mind. I remember that name. Did you do any business dealings with communist China?
No,
Not with China.
never
Okay.
went to China.
Never went to China. But you said Cambodia. Did you meet anyone interesting in Cambodia?
Sihanouk, the king.
The king. You met the king. of
Oh,
Cambodia.
he was a great benefactor of mine.
A great benefactor. Wow.
Whenever I went to Cambodia, he would invite me. He was a great friend of Nehru's, Indira Gandhi and Nehru's. He would always invite me for lunch or something.
Wasn't there a revolution in Cambodia though? Communist revolution?
Yeah, no, they preserved him
Oh, they preserved him.
as the king,
Mm-hmm.
but a small country, not economically consequential. But first time I went to Cambodia was as the head of the rice delegation. India used to buy rice from Cambodia,
Oh yeah.
so they gave me an Indian delegation to go and buy rice.
You had a delegation going to Egypt also. Tell me about that.
Egypt I was a great success.
Mhm.
Egypt I was a great success. I met Nasser.
You met Nasser. Yeah. How was the man?
Oh, he was a very impressive man.
He was.
He was a
Great
very,
friend of India.
very impressive man. Egypt was a very close friend of India. I can't believe all that was possible now, you know.
Me too.
Is this still going-
Russia and Egypt and India
Is
were
it
very
still going
close
on?
at that time.
Is this still going on?
Yeah, yeah, still going.
How long does it play?
Until I press stop. How long I want. I mean, so you met Nasser, Egypt. So you were well regarded in Egypt. Or you were. What was the dealings you were doing in Egypt? What was the arrangement in Egypt? You were dealing for the Tata?
Egypt was a socialist country,
Mm-hmm.
almost a communist country, and he had changed the face of Egypt. You know, Egypt was a very loose kind of communist country, but he was trying his best to straighten up Egypt.
I mean, who was the most impressive foreign leader? you-
Gamal, Egypt.
Egypt?
He was very impressive.
Who was? What's his name?
Gamal Nasser was his name.
Gabal Nasser. Oh, that's why I didn't know this was his name. He was the most impressive figure you met. Okay.
Well, I don't know whether he was the most impressive I met. They were all impressive. They wouldn't have reached there
Of course, if they weren't.
unless they were impressive.
What about some of the African leaders you met? You had dealings in Africa, right?
Oh yes, Africa, of course.
He had offices all over.
In Africa, I had My best friend was Zambian president. What was his name, mother?
Is he still alive?
No,
He died.
Hmm.
What was his name?
I forget. I'll just tell you.
See, I thought she was a silent observer.
What other leaders? So you met the Zambian president? Anybody else?
Zambian president became a personal friend of mine.
A personal friend. Wow.
Very good. He had a Indian person around him all the time who taught him yoga and all.
Ah.
What was his name?
He was a very good
He was a
friend of
great
mine.
friend of Riju that
He
country.
was a very good friend of mine. I liked him very much. The only honest African leader I have met.
Was this president of Zambia?
Was,
Was he the first president of Zambia?
well, he was the first president.
He was the first president. So whoever the first president of Zambia was a personal friend of yours, and you thought he was a very honest man.
Madhu, what was his? I've forgotten his name.
You have any
Not
phone?
Kuanda. Not Kuanda.
Kwanda.
Kwanda? Kwanda. Okay. Kwanda. So Kwanda, everyone. So, did you meet any other African leaders, maybe who weren't as honest?
No, I met
His name is Kenneth Kuanda.
Kenneth Kaur,
Kenneth Kwanda, personal friend of yours.
personal friend.
Personal friend. Good. That's good to know. And what was your business in Zambia?
Oh my God, Zambia!
Offices.
I started companies, offices, factories.
Oh, great! Wow.
I did very well in Zambia.
So let's.
I employed all my. By then, my nephews had all come up. They were of the age looking for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought them all and employed them in Zambia.
You.
Because Zambia was a very nice country, beautiful country.
Mhm.
It had very good weather, very good climate, and very good people. So I brought them all and employed them there.
So you think Zambia has a good future? I think it's doing quite well
I
out of
don't
African
know
countries.
what I'm a little out of touch.
A little out of touch, but I think it's doing quite well. Zambia is doing quite well.
I don't know if it's doing well, but it had great future.
Great future. That's good.
It had great future. I don't know whether it had great potential at that time.
That's good.
It had world's largest copper mines,
Copper mines. Yeah.
and I had great hope in Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
and the Kaunda used to listen to me.
That's good. That's good. So, your main areas of dealing were Zambia, Vietnam, Southeast Asia,
No, as far as
Egypt.
Africa is concerned, Zambia,
Yeah.
I had a relationship with Zimbabwe also to some extent, but not much. I would say, in terms of close relationship, Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
that was close, and Africa. And Egypt,
Egypt.
and
What about the larger
What
African
about
countries?
Sri Lanka, Ceylon? Used to go there.
oh yeah, Sri Lanka. I had a lot of.
Good friends there, not a business.
I sold. Installed Tatas in Zambia.
No. In Zambia or Ceylon?
Sorry, Ceylon.
Ceylon. In Sri Lanka. Okay. Okay. So, what about the larger African countries like Nigeria or so on?
Yes, I started operations in
I had a good
Nigeria.
friend in Nigeria who used to come over, who was a crook.
He was a crook? Was he some government man?
He had 2 wives. Every time he came with another woman
Oh
to
God.
our house.
He was some. Who was he?
And grandfather had his account. He opened an account. Remember, Biju? In the
Who?
bank. That Nigerian man who every time he came with another girl, another lady who was his wife apparently.
Oh gosh. Was this some Nigerian government
So
official? or
what?
something?
What is your understanding, Mother?
No, about. I'm trying to tell you who that man was. You had forgotten. He used to come over and have food and all that. He was very close to us. Bridget used to help him, like open an account and all that in London. When we were in London, he used to come over.
You see, one of the reasons was I was very honest with them. Very straightforward, and they could trust me. They trusted me. I didn't want their trust, but trust me.
So it was mostly Zambia, Egypt, Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, and Southeast Asia were your areas of operation.
No, a lot of countries. I got
A lot of countries. Okay.
I go to sit down and talk to you.
So yeah, a lot of countries. But okay.
But you know, all this would not have been possible without cooperation of my wife.
Did you Brazil also you used to go to?
I only went to Brazil once, Madhu, as a state guest. They invited Tata as a state guest.
He used to go to Switzerland a lot, the company.
Because I was the director of the company, Swiss company
Okay.
of Tatas.
So what was your position in Tata? What was your title?
I was a director of
Director of Tatas.
and I was the managing director of
And Philip, you know those photographs and the thing? Every year he used to get the award for best exports.
Yeah, no. We're here. So, what is your speaking of modern day? What do you think the best way to move forward for India is? What do you think the best path moving forward? Because India's having some trouble. You know, China's industrialized and gotten very wealthy, but India is still a little behind. What do you think the best policy is for India going forward?
well, they need a bunch of good people. But I've got a headache back now.
Okay, I think we should stop then, Tata. Huh? Okay, we're done. Okay, good night, everyone. This is end of this section.
Tylenol, Bridget.
Okay, we're ending.
I'll give it to
I'll be after a few minutes.